Peace and love, family. Welcome to Numbers Matter Podcase, the podcast where we explore astronumerical topics of people, places, and things. We also do presentations. I am your girl, Queen B, and I'm so happy to have you here today on Numbers Matter Podcast number 6. Without further ado, I'm going to bring our guest up on the stage. I have a very special show for you today. As you can see, I have Kimberly here, astronumerologist and metaphysician. Welcome, Kimberly, to Numbers Matter.
Thank you, Queen B, and thank you so much for inviting me to come on today. This is so much. This means so much to me, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to have you back on the show. You were on the show before, but you were never on Numbers Matter. You came on to Cultural Reflections and we interviewed you and we got a lot of background information about you on that show. So we're not going to do a whole bunch of background information with Kimberly today, guys, because if you want to know more about Kimberly, I want you to first of all go to the Cultural Reflections interview that we did with her so you can learn about her background. And I also want you to head over here to her YouTube, Kimberly underscore. You see how it's spelled, very special. And I also want you to go visit her website at kimberly.com. Okay, so make sure you guys hit the queen up. Go check out her channel. She is a Manifest on Purpose Queen. So she has a lot of great jewels and a lot of great information for you guys. So make sure you guys go check her out on her channel. So, Kimberly, I want to thank you so much for being here today. And before we get started, I want you just to give the audience a little bit of a background about yourself.
Thank you, Queen. I forgot to say hello. So, hello to you today. Peace and blessings to you also. I'm Kimberly. I am the host of the Manifest on Purpose show. A part of my passion is helping people be conscious creators in their own life. So, I teach manifestation and I am also a manifestation coach. I am a metaphysician and I am also an astronumerologist.
That's interesting, Queen. Can you explain to us a little bit about what you do as a metaphysician?
As a metaphysician, basically, I look beyond the physical. Metaphysics is a philosophy. And what we do is we examine the nature of life. We examine what we cannot see with our physical eyes. So it would be beyond what we experience in this physical existence. Some of the questions we ask are: who am I? What is my purpose? What am I here for? And where am I going? What am I going to be doing? So those are some of the things that metaphysician teaches. And some things that fall in that category are the ancient sciences, such as numerology and astrology, which happens to be two of the sciences that we will be talking about today.
Yeah, those are I think, two of our favorite things to talk about, especially when we get together. So I love that background which you gave Queen. Make sure you guys go check her out. You know, there's a lot going on in the world today, and we've always been discussing it's time to get more in tune with yourself and get more in tune with spirit. And Kimberly can definitely help you do that. She can also help you manifest the life that you want on purpose. So make sure you visit her website and go visit her YouTube and subscribe to her channel. So thank you so much for that, Kimberly. What are we going to be talking about more specifically today? Because I look like we got something going on with these planets today. So it looks like we're doing planets and their rulership and a little deep dive on the planets. Now tell me why you chose to talk about that topic today.
The reason why I chose to speak about the planets is because in numerology, astronumerology more specifically, in order to know the nature of a number, you should know the nature of the ruling planet. And the planets that governs our solar system, or the planets in our solar system, are all rulers of each number. Each number is assigned to a planet. And whatever description that planet has will be expressed through that number, which then will be expressed through people, places, and things. So it's important to know what these planets are about because it tells us what the numbers are being expressed or what the numbers are that are being expressed to us. I've always liked to gain knowledge and wisdom, but I'm that one that always asks why. So when I hear that the number one is a leader, or there's so many other traits and characteristics of the number one, my first question is, okay, that's nice, but why? What makes the one leader? And you can find that information by studying and knowing the planet that rules that number.
That is so interesting, Kimberly. And I agree with you. I think you have to look at the planets and their characteristics because, like you said, and we always say, as above, so below. So if these numbers have a rulership with the planets, it's obvious that that's the above, So whatever's going on above in the heavens is what's going to be going on below with us. So I'm excited to get into this because I love deep diving into the planets. And just like you love asking why, so do I. Like finding out why. So we're going to get into this today. So today is January 25th, guys, and there's six of planets that are aligned today. They call that a planet parade. So I want to ask our guest, what does she think about a planet parade? What do you think it means? What implications do you think that it has on us down here on Earth?
I just want to say before I get started on this, these are my implications. These are not implications that I've heard from someone else. So this is really just my own opinion. But the thing that stuck out to me, Queen, is when we talk about these planets, you said the number six. And these planets are all in alignment. I feel that if we want to know how we should be moving in this physical reality, we should look to nature. And because this is the number six, the number six represents balance. So we think about these planets and we see that it's in alignment. So I'm feeling that what's above, because we talk about as above, so below, but these planets are as high as we can physically see them, but what's above and beyond that? And that takes me back to the all is mental. We are one mind and we're all connected to that one mind and we are expressions of that. And so we are expressing through these planets, and what these planets in alignment are teaching us or telling us what to do is that we need to be in alignment. We need to be in balance. The time is now. We need to get over everything that we think we feel or we think life is supposed to be, and get in alignment with something that's greater than what we are. And we talk about the all is mental, that one mind that keeps us and connects us all together so that we can express the energy of these planets.
I think that was a beautiful summary, and it's a great opinion on what you think that means. And I tend to agree with you. And just to take it up a notch, we are in that nine universal year. So that's humanitarianism. So we do need to look for that greater purpose and align ourselves with balance and try to harmonize the same way that these planets have come together to do so. So I think that was a beautiful breakdown, Queen, and very insightful. So thank you so much for that. So you ready to
Oh,
get into these slides?
yes, we can get into these slides.
I'm ready. Can you tell I'm excited for your slides?
Yay. Okay.
All right. So here we go. Numbers and their rulerships.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about numbers and their rulerships, how the stars and the numbers align. So if you look at it, we have the planetary parade going on right here. And another thing I want to bring up too is as above, so below, as within, so without. So we hold these planets, each one of them within us, and we express all of these planets in different ways. So we have to realize that what we see in the physical reality is already mentally within us. And we're going to see that today in this demonstration. One of the things that I feel that is important about astronumerology is if you know the nature of the planet and the elements, you know the nature of the number. So we're going to start with the number one, jump right into it, right? And I just want to let you know that all of these slides are going to be different because all of these numbers are different. So I have different things for each number. So the sun, that's the very first one. And the reason why we talk about the sun being first is because when you look outside, you see the sun. The sun is right there. You can't escape the sun. The sun is number one because without the sun, we cease to exist. So, what I like to say about the sun is that it is the king of the day. And I threw that in for you, Queen. It's the king of the day. It
I
represents
love it.
life force. It represents magnanimous radiation of essential self. It represents powerful, noble, being generous, and it represents magnetism. When you plant something like a plant and you watch that plant grow, you will notice that the plant always grows towards the sun. So if
Mhm.
you're planting something and the sun is over to the right, that plant is going to gravitate and lean over to the right just so that it can get into that sunlight. So it's magnetic. A lot of people are attracted to sun people, and it's not that they intentionally make people attracted to them. It's that people are just naturally attracted to some people. They can't help it. They're faithful, they shine, they're original, they're confident, they're regal, and they are prideful. And to the negative, they can be too prideful at times because really the sun knows that, I am all of this. And so there's a sense of being regal and a sense of pride within that. It gives them confidence to do what they have to do. The sun represents the conscious part of our mind, what we are aware of, what we can see, because when the sun is out, we can see better. It's the giver of light. And that's exactly why we see better, because it's the giver of light. And then a person, what that looks like, the sun person is often going to be encouraging people. They're going to be helping people grow, helping people get ahead because they are the giver of light. Um, they represent reason, dignified, self reliant. And one thing that's like a little tidbit about the sun is the sun never goes into retrograde, it's always forward moving. So when you
Mm.
think about that number one energy or that sun energy, and I
Mhm.
forgot to say that the sun represents people that are born on the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, and the 28th of the month, and also the people that come under the signs of Leo and Aquarius. They are sun people. If you notice, they are always forward moving. You're not going to catch a sun person hanging on to the past or being stuck in the past
Mm.
unless they are in their shadow attributes or um, they're living in the negative side of their numbers. And I don't like to say the word negative, that's why I'm looking for another word. But the
Yes.
shadow attributes. That's what I'll call them.
Hmm.
So they can be too prideful. I already discussed that. They can also be arrogant, selfish, dominating, egotistical, rude, just like everything that the sun vibrates on in the positive vibration, in the negative vibration of the sun. It's like they could be doing the polar opposite of. And
Hmm.
you know, the sun brings energy. So if you're not living in that positive energy of the sun, you could actually lack energy. So that's the sun. Do you have any questions before we move on to number two, Queen?
I don't have any questions. I'm enjoying this a whole lot. I love the slides. I love the way they look, very aesthetically pleasing. And I like that that number two, that moon, is sitting right there over that under that numeralytic sign where it belongs.
And this
Continue,
one,
Queen.
I did this one for you. I did this one just for you, Queen.
I bet you
Okay.
did. I know you did, Queen. Queens and kings up, family.
So the moon, we're going to go on to the moon, and the moon rules the number two, but the number two has a partner, the number seven. We're going to talk about the number seven separately later on, but right now we're going to focus on the number two. And we discussed that the sun is the king by day. Well, how about this? The moon is the queen of the night. And when I wrote that down, I thought about Whitney Houston's song. You remember that? That's what she was talking about, the queen
Wow.
of the night. And so the moon is a feminine energy. It represents the mother, women, feelings, emotion, conception, the body, your appearance, older siblings, housekeeping, and the housekeeping part, because even when I did the research on some of the older astrologers, like before our time, they even said maid, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
instead of housekeeping.
I like
So
housekeeping better.
yeah, but what it made me think about is how the number two can burn those pots when they get in the kitchen, and how the two, especially being a water sign, likes cleanliness, especially in the area that has water in the house. Now, we also know that the two is the receiver, it's receptive, it reflects light, and not only does it reflect light, it reflects the light of the sun, the opposite of the sun. It's just like a reflection. And it also represents the true self, um, security, habitual planning. I mean, habitual patterns. And the thing you should know about the moon, it travels faster through the zodiac sign than any other planet. And this is not a planet, nor is the sun or the moon are not planets, they're luminaries. So, but it travels faster throughout the zodiac. Only 28 days it takes to travel throughout the zodiac. So it means that it's changing constantly all of the time. And when you also look at the moon, when you think about it, you might go out one night and you see the entire moon is full. But on another night, you may go out and you don't see any moon at all. That's the new moon. So to me, this lets me know that moon people need to be aware of illusions. They need to be aware of deception. Also, you have to think about the fact that this is a water sign. Water signs means that you're going to be tapping into the emotions. You're going to be sensitive, not just sensitive yourself, but you're going to be sensitive to the needs of others. It's like you can pick up another person's energy. That's how sensitive you are, because you are able to tap into emotions in that way. so you can relate to others. You're a nurturer. You like to take care of people. That's just the thing that you do. And twos also represents gathering of the masses. So a positive person that is living in the highest vibration of two, you're going to see them bring people together into groups. And just like if you see people living on the other side of that too, you may see people like cult leaders or things like that with the number two. So you have to understand it goes both ways. It can go either way. Twos are also very detailed, very detailed. But on the negative, just remember why I say all of these positive characteristics can turn into the very opposite. This person can be impatient because twos are known to be patient. But if they're not living in the high vibrational state, then they can become impatient or cruel or petty, or they can be too sensitive. They may have to worry about anxiety, and the anxiety comes in because they are so sensitive to other people. So twos may recognize that when they go into crowds, they may feel a little anxiety because there's so much energy coming in at them at the same time, and they're sensitive to that. Another person may not be able to understand or feel those emotions, but the number two can pick that up, and too much of that can cause anxiety. Twos can also be controlling in the negative, and if you are a two, then you should watch out for deception, either you deceiving somebody, illusions, someone sharing illusions with you, or someone being deceptive to you. So, those are some of the things that you should know about the number two.
Wow, that was let's go back for 1 second, Queen. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
got a couple.
Okay.
So
Yes.
that was fascinating, first of all. That was brilliant. Thank you for that breakdown. Let me ask you a question because some people have the moon and the sun numbers as their numbers. So we know that those would be people either born in the house of the moon or the house of the sun, or they're an Aquarius and are born on the second or the seventh. So they would carry those moon and sun numbers. Um, or a Leo that's born on the second, they would carry those moon and sun numbers. What do you say about those people? And how do you see how those people can balance that energy between that king and that queen energy that physical and receptive, that sun and that moon energy? How do you see that with those people?
You just answer the question. It's all a matter of feeling balance, and we're going to get to some numbers that have co-rulers, and balance is very important. So it's all a matter of balance, and I can say that truly I feel like one of those people because um I am that Leo energy, and I'm born on it's a four, but the four is composed of two twos. So when you look at it, the number the one, which is ruled by the sun, it represents a leader, but when you add that number two in it, you have a compassionate leader, you have an emotional leader, you have one that can tap into emotional awareness to be able to lead their team. So it can still, and it should still, show up in a high vibrational way, but you just have to know your numbers first of all, because that's one of the things I wanted to say too. We're talking about each of these planets, but no one number is just, or no one planet is just going to fit you because you're a whole soup of numbers. What
Yes.
you have to do is you have to go to someone like Queen or myself that can sit down with you and take a look at all of your numbers and help you determine how you can strike the balance between those numbers. I hope that helped.
Absolutely. That helped a whole lot, and I think it was a great breakdown, so thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Jupiter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There you
I
go.
forgot all about Jupiter. How could I
How could you forget about
forget
the great
about
beneficent?
Jupiter? The great Jupiter.
The
The
great Jupiter. There's no way you could forget about the great Jupiter, especially in the personal year you're in, my queen.
the biggest thing. How could I forget about it?
How could you forget?
So when you're a number three, or did I say the number two? Let me back up for the number
Okay.
two. So the
Hmm.
number two would be born on the 2nd, the 11th, the 20th, or the 29th of the month. And also ruled by the sign of Cancer. So if any of those fit you, you are a number two. Now we're going to move on to a number three. You're number three, and you're ruled by Jupiter if you're born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of the month. If you come under the signs of Pisces or Sagittarius, that will make you a number three. So let's talk about Jupiter. Everybody likes Jupiter because Jupiter is known to bring positive things to a person. They talk about luck and expansion and things of that nature. So, what Jupiter brings about is harmony, justice, constructive inclinations, optimism. People that are ruled by Jupiter, you should be optimistic. I like to call Jupiter the planet of belief because when you're optimistic, you're believing that great things can happen for you, and not just for you, for other people too. It also represents a social sense, of moral and religious aspirations. You know, when you think about Jupiter is very philosophical, but also it has the faculty to survey the whole. So the Jupiter person thinks about everybody, not just only themselves. And then I guess that's a part of the reason why the good luck comes in too, because it's not just fixated on them, they're fixated on the whole, humanitarianism. And with that optimism, that is what makes them so grand. And it represents the principle of expansion. No matter what Jupiter touch, it expands. This is whether you're living on the positive side of your number or if you're living on the negative side of your number. Magnitude, growth, elevation. These are things that you can expect in Jupiter. Superiority. And that's something that you have to watch out for if you are ruled by Jupiter, because if you are living in the low vibrational state of Jupiter, then that can easily turn into a dictatorship. So because Jupiter is another leadership number,
Yeah.
but Jupiter leads to bring people together. So you need to understand that you need to be working for the whole in order to grow. It likes to incorporate that which is external, and it likes to inflate. We say that that is to expand. And the reason why is so that it can experience success, honor, advancement, plenitude, abundance, which is what abundance is anyway. It's having plenty of the good things in life. And that's a lot of what Jupiter is about too. They like the good things. But we have to know that one of Jupiter's purposes is not only is it jovial and it's optimistic, a part of Jupiter's purpose is to instill that into other people, is to help other people grow. Jupiter people sometimes can be comedic. wherever you find Jupiter at. It could be a little comedy area for you, depending on what numbers or what planets are mixed with it. So, a lot of people with Jupiter birthdays, or a lot of people that have prominent Jupiters, are entertainers and especially comedians.
Especially
So,
those Sagittarius.
yeah, yeah.
Those Sagittarius are comedians.
Yes, 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 yes. And in disharmony, everything that we discuss about the positives of Jupiter is can be flipped to the other side of the coin, just as we talked about disharmony, injustice, because Jupiter has that sense of right and wrong also, but if you're
Mhm.
in disharmony with your numbers, then you can experience injustice as well. You could be too materialistic. You can be negative all the time and not believe in anything. So you can be over optimistic, you can overextend yourself, and you can really, like, when it comes to things like habits, like your eating habits, you can overeat. If it's something like a drug habit or a drinking habit, you can do that over in an excess of what you should be. So, like I said, whatever Jupiter touches, whether it's harmonious or disharmonious, it's going to expand it. So,
Mhm.
especially with this number, make sure that you're believing in things that benefit the whole and the best for everybody.
I
So that,
agree. I agree. Stay conscientious, Jupiter and number threes. Stay conscientious about the way you do things, and watch those overindulgences, because it's very true. It will magnify those things.
you said
Yeah.
something, you said the word that I was looking for. I could not find it. And I will say that whenever I'm in a Jupiter cycle, and that's the number three, that means either it's a 3 week, a 3 month, a 3 year. I always tend to overindulge, especially in snacks. But eating, my eating habits change. I've been taking care of it this year though, because I know that this is a 3 year. But usually, if I pick up weight, it happens in some kind of three cycle.
Wow, I never even thought of the weight pickup in a three cycle. That's a good catch, Kimberly. And yeah, you got a full year to go, so you gotta look, stay conscientious about it.
You got to keep me on task, Queen.
You know I got you, Queen. You know what that's what we're here for.
Uh-oh, and this one right here. Oh my
Uh-oh,
goodness. This
uh-oh.
is the first one we're gonna
The Lord of Karma.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So now we're on the number 4. The ruling planets for the number 4, because is Saturn and Uranus. So these are two planets that rule one number. This is interesting because a lot of people talk about the 8-4 relationship. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about relationship as far as intimacy relationship. I'm talking about the relationship between the number 8 and the number 4. And today I think that I'm going to kind of explain my opinion on why I think that it is the way that it is.
Oh, I'm
First
excited
of
to hear this. So
all,
before you start, can we bring this up and then we'll bring this back up? Is
sure,
this
sure.
okay? I want you to go ahead.
Oh. So,
I'm gonna bring it back up, but I want you to talk about the 8 and 4, what you think about them.
it's gonna come out as I
Oh.
do
Okay, sorry.
the presentation. Yeah, because I'm gonna talk my way through it.
Okay, go
It's
ahead.
gonna come down. So
Okay.
first of all, I just want to say, if you are born on the 4th, the 13th, the 22nd, or the 31st of the month, come under the signs of Leo and, well, Aquarius first, then Leo, you are a number 4. And before I get deep into it, I'll let you know that the number 4 is a part of an interchangeable set, which is number 1 and number 4. But we already discussed 4. We already discussed 1. We're going to talk about number 4 on its own. So, as I said, the 2 planets rule this number 4. Okay, Saturn, which is the original ruler, and Uranus, which is the modern ruler. Okay, when we talk about Saturn, Saturn is a malefic planet. And what that means is that it presents difficulties to overcome. Now, when I research Saturn, you don't hear a whole lot of good things about Saturn because everybody looks at it as the malefic planet. Okay, but Saturn has a purpose in our life too. And the purpose of Saturn is it's known as the taskmaster. Saturn commands us to get to work and to work hard. So what Saturn is telling us to do is, girl, you better get your stuff together. It's teaching us discipline. It's teaching us responsibility. And these are important things to the planet of Saturn. It is also known as the planet of karma because with Saturn, what you put in, you get out. So if you don't put anything, any work, any discipline, any boundaries into Saturn, you're not going to get anything back. Now, when you look at the planet Saturn, and you see I got it up there, it's kind of small, but you see rings around that planet. That planet, those rings represents restrictions, limitations. This is saying, this is coming home from school and your parents saying, no, you cannot go outside and play until you get your homework done. So this is the type of restrictions that Saturn is putting on you. What it's doing is teaching you a lesson. It's teaching you to grow up. And I say teaching you to grow up because it takes 28 to 30 years for Saturn to orbit around the zodiac. So when you think about that, Saturn is not, hey, I'm going to go ahead and hope for this to happen today and it's going to show up tomorrow. No, it's going to take long, hard, disciplined work to get it done. So what you do today is not going to show up tomorrow. The number 4 and this, well, Saturn is teaching you that it's going to take you step by step in order for you to learn it. Now, some of the attributes of Saturn is that it can be petty. I told you it's not a lot that they say that's good about Saturn, but it can be petty, malicious. It can cause anxieties, limitation. The nature is cooling and dry. When you think about a person that is born on a number that is ruled by Saturn, which is the number 4 or the number 8, they're kind of dry. They're distant. And that's what Saturn is. So this is a part of that personality. Even with the number 4, the number 4 is kind of the same way. The number 4 likes to be off to its own. The number 4 can be a little dry too and distant. The number 4 is focused on that hard work. So what I say is, and this is my personal opinion, the number 4 is just as much having an impact on the Saturn is just as much having an impact on number 4 as Uranus is. Because when we talk about 4 and we talk about the building, you do not build anything without being meticulous. You do not build anything without a step-by-step plan. And we know that that foundation is really your restrictions. You know, you got your foundation, you got to build according to that foundation. The 4 is a hard worker. That's a part that comes from Saturn as well. It also represents structure That's a builder. Age, you know, which goes back to talking about taking a long time for something to happen. That kind of reminds me of aging. And not only that, when you think about Saturn, when you think about the number 4, we say that 4 is a maturity number. So the reason why number 4 is a maturity number is because of that Saturn influence that it has on it. Saturn also represents tradition, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the 8, because Saturn is also ruled by the 8. And it's also Saturn also represents death, patience, and being serious. Now, who can be as serious as the number 4 sometimes?
Number 8.
Number 8, which is ruled by Saturn. So that's where this seriousness comes from. And then we're going to get to Uranus, and then that's when I'm going to tie it up and tell you about the 8-4. But Uranus is kind of a new planet. This is going to blow your mind. Uranus was discovered. I was almost about to say born. Uranus was discovered March 13, 1781. So you got the 8 years, born in the 8th year, and discovered on the 13th.
On a 4 day.
Now, so when you listen to Uranus, associated with the principle of change, which Saturn is change too, but it's just change in a different way. Saturn is you're going to change over time. Uranus is, baby, you're going to change right now.
Right now. Yeah, not now, right now.
Right now. So associated with the principle of change, rebellion, freedom, liberation, reform. You know something about this, Queen. Revolution.
I do.
And the unexpected breakup of structures and sudden surprises, revelations, awakenings, lightning like flashes of insight, the acceleration of thoughts and events, with births and new beginnings of all kinds, and with intellectual brilliance, cultural innovation, technology invention, experiment, creativity, originality. And in addition to the occurrences of sudden breakthroughs and liberating events, Uranus transits are linked to unpredictable and disruptive changes. Hence, the planet is often referred to as the cosmic trickster. Now, let me tell you what's important about this one, what stood out to me about this. Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury, and Mercury is called the trickster. And now, all of a sudden, they name Uranus the cosmic trickster. So, another set of themes associated with Uranus is the concern with the celestial and the cosmics, with astrology and astronomy, the science of esoteric knowledge, what we're doing right now, and with space travel and aviation. So, another thing that I wanted to bring up about Uranus too is that what put me on a search for about Uranus is the fact that I wanted to know what made Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, and what makes the number 4 so weird and unique. Everything about Uranus is different. It has its own orbit. It doesn't orbit around the solar system like the other planets. It orbits on its side. So its north pole is facing the sunlight.
East.
It's different in every way possible. It also rules technology, which is, to me, this is something that I've observed for myself, and I shared it with a few people. Whenever a number 4 day comes up, whether it's the 4th, the 13th, the 22nd, or the 31st, pay attention to your technology. It feels like a mini Mercury retrograde day. And that's what I call mini Mercury retrogrades, because there will be upsets with technology and things of that nature. So this is Uranus, and it's like lightning strikes, just everywhere. You see the night sky and you see it lightning, and it's just in different random spots. That's what Uranus is. And what Uranus is basically doing is it's bringing about a change in your life. Now, you think about this: Uranus, the rebellion planet, with Saturn, the Saturn that says you're going to be disciplined.
Mhm.
When you look at 8 ruled by Saturn and you look at 4 ruled by Saturn, you can see how clearly, even if you're a 4 and you're just ruled by both of them, you can clearly see that you have to strike a balance here. Because with Saturn, what happens is you can get so caught up in doing something over and over, the task. You're so caught up in doing it step by step by step. But then you got Uranus over here, and it's like you've been messing with this thing for too long. Now it's time for you to break this thing up and start something different. So
Mhm.
you got 2 different planets going in 2 different directions.
Directions.
So what do
Mhm.
you have to do? You have to find the balance between both of them. You have to understand that, yes, you have your plan, you have your structure, but at the same time, you can almost expect or even prepare a plan B, so that when these things come about, and it just, the Uranus effect comes in and something happens, you already understand and know what it is. Awareness is key in this. So Saturn is trying to teach you to do things, um, it's trying to teach you to do things step by step. And Uranus is pretty much trying to teach you how to grow as well, but at the same time, be different in your approach, be different in the way that you're doing things, because Uranus is going to do what Uranus does regardless of what. So that's why I think that there's a conflict between the 8 and the 4, because you got 2 separate planets doing 2 separate things. And what will happen is, with the 8 and the 4, with the number 4, just dealing with the number 4, you will notice that there are some number 4s that are strictly go step by step, just like
Mhm.
Saturn says do it. And then there are some number 4s that are like rebellious, and they do it like Uranus does it, But the best thing to do is to find the I'll say the cosmic balance, and find out
Yes.
how to work with both of those numbers. And as far as the 8 and the 4 are concerned, because my my birth month is a 8, and I'm born in the year of the 8, but I'm also a 4. So what I would advise with the 8 and 4 is, because I attract a lot of 8s, if you are with the number 8, or if you know a number 8, because I have a lot of 8 friends, you know sometimes you have to maintain your space with that person. You
Mhm.
have to know when to step away. Okay, you getting on my nerves, let me cool back and step back for a little bit,
Yes.
and then come back and come together, so that you can connect on a different level. So that's how I feel about the number 8 and 4, and why I think that these two planets go against, why these two planets can be challenging towards each other, because both planets are two totally different planets.
Yeah. I think that was fascinating, and I want to touch on a few things that you touched on in your breakdown there. I'm glad that you shared that information about Uranus being the mini retrograde and 4 days being mini retrogrades, because yesterday was the 13th. It added up to a 4. And when I came home from work yesterday, the whole night my cell phone kept going in and out of the Wi Fi. Like, it just kept going in and out. And I said, "Let me look." I said, "That Kimberly." Then I said, "What did Kimberly tell me about?" I said, "She said that today was a mini retrograde." I said, "And she's right, because this phone is acting crazy today." So I did experience that mini retrograde. And what I'll also add to the breakdown of Uranus is how you told us it was the number of technology and how it's the higher octave of Mercury. So where we look at Mercury as communication, Uranus is mass communication. So you have communication in the higher octave of Uranus is mass communication, because a lot of mass communicative things happen under the planet of Uranus, like the internet was born under the planet Uranus under that time frame. So these are the interesting things that we want to look at. And I really do agree with that 8 and 4 breakdown. And I like the way that you show improve on it by way of looking at the planets and looking at the characteristics and the differences in the planets, and also us understanding that yes, 4 does have a co-rulership with Saturn. So within itself, 4 can have these balancing act within itself. And then if you add that and compound it with a number 8 person, you're also going to have that balancing act. The way I often also look at that 4 and that 8 is they're both want to do, they both want their way of things. Both of those numbers will, so I think that's what happens too. Like when you said when that 4 and the 8, they know when it's time to separate. They do, because I know a 4 and an 8 person that they didn't know, but like when we were standing around, and us astronumerologists, I'm kind of just reading the crowd, and when they said that, he told me his birthday was a 4 and I already know my other one's an 8. I said, "What, you guys got to take breaks from each other every now and then once, don't you guys?" And they were like, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" I'm like, it's your frequency. And that's what we want people to understand. That's why Kimberly's doing this breakdown, because these planets, these numbers, these are frequencies. We know the whole universe is frequency. So as above, so below. There are frequencies, which means the numbers that we embody, we're frequencies too. So we're going to embody those things, like Kimberly says. So I just thought that was excellent. I just wanted to add on to that.
Thank you, Queen.
Thank you, Queen. Keep going. I'm so excited. I love this.
So now, speaking of Mercury, we're going to move on to the number 5. So the number 5, if you're born on the 5th, the 14th, or the 23rd of the month, you are a number 9. Or if you come on the signs of Gemini and Virgo, you are number 5. And the ruling planet for the number 5 is Mercury. And the purpose of Mercury is to transmit or convey. It represents intelligence, transmission of information, talking, teaching, writing, reception of information, listening, learning, reading, and observing. And I got this from Stephen Frost, The Inner Sky. He's an astrologer. But what this is talking about is, a lot of people say that Mercury represents the mind, but it's not just that Mercury represents the mind, it represents how we transmit the information that is in our mind. So it also represents the principle of mind, thought, communication, that which articulates the primary creative energy and renders it intelligible. The impulse and capacity to think, to conceptualize, to connect and mediate, to use words and language, to give and receive information, to understand and articulate, to transport, translate, transmit the principle of logos. And we know that to be the word. And Hermes is the messenger of the gods. Richard Tarnas wrote this, and he wrote it in his book, Cosmos and Psychics. So we talked about a few things here. So let's see how this relates to the number 5. One of the things about number 5 that we know is that a number 5 person can be a great promoter. But listening to all of the information here today, we can clearly see why that is so, because the purpose is to transmit and convey information. So when you're promoting something, you're really putting that information out there for everybody else to pick up on it. So most people that are a 5 ruled by Mercury, this also Gemini and Virgo. So these people, in the positive of their numbers or in the positive vibration of their numbers, make good writers, good speakers. They make good teachers because they know how to get this information out. And one of the things that stood out to me is because I have a grammarian and she's like the best. And she is a number 5. So they make great grammarians, editors, things of that nature as well. You always see the planet Mercury. It's never going to be 28, more than 28 degrees away from the sun. So when we think about that, the sun shines light, so if it's always within the 29 or 28 degrees of the sun, that means they're still getting some of that sunlight. So that's what makes number 5 people or people born under the sign of Mercury magnetic. People are drawn towards them because people can still see that sunlight coming from them because they're so close to the sun. So that's another thing that's important to understand about the number 5. And these are people too, that are good at speech. Some of the negative things or the shadow attributes of the number 5 is they can be nervous. And I see this a lot. Nervousness, and I mean it's like anxiety.
Anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Sorry.
Mercury rules the nervous system. So they can be very nervous and full of anxiety. They could be full of worry. They can also feel righteous. And I would also like to add here my observation again.
Yay.
A lot of people born under the influence of Mercury or the number 5, they have, well, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but there are people that are born under the number 5 or under Mercury, something ruled by Mercury. They have delays or speech impediments as children. And the one person, I thought I had this on this slideshow, but I don't see it. But the one person that I chose to add here was James Earl Jones, because you got to know how I do things. When I heard his story and it talked about how he was had a problem with speech in his earlier life, I decided to pull up his birthday to see, and I
Of
call
course
it
you
like,
did. Of course you decided to pull his birthday up.
I was like, okay, let's find the 5. And so what I did was I found out that he was born in the year of the 5.
Oh,
So a
wow.
lot of what you'll see with number 5 people are things such as stuttering and stuff like that. And even some of those things have to do with that nervousness or that flightiness that they have. So that's another observation that I had with the five. So, of course, the five, or those born under Mercury, they're quick witted. That's what we hear. They're like so intelligent. It's and this is just my opinion about the stuttering thing. I wonder to myself sometimes, like, is it because your mind is moving so fast, air sign, your mind is
Mhm.
moving so fast that you can't really keep up with it verbally? I'm just asking myself, I'm not saying that that's what it is, but I kind of think that because these people have the ability like to come up with some fascinating things, and being quick-witted, and also having all of that information just coming at them so fast makes them good people when it comes to like emergency rescue, stuff like that.
Mhm.
They can
Crisis
automatically,
oriented.
yeah,
Mhm.
crisis oriented. So those are some of the things about five. Did I miss anything about five?
I think you got everything about 5. I will say that they say about the number 5, they get along with almost all the other numbers except for the 3 and the 8. I actually have something to add on to that. I think 5 has static with the number 2. I noticed it. I noticed it. It's not a huge static, but there's some disharmony there. And I think it comes in with because the 2 and the 5 are both very adaptable numbers. But I think what happens is with the 2, the 5 is too free with their adaptability. It's too much freedom and adaptability that the 2 doesn't really care for. And I think the 2 kind of looks at it as carelessness, or like the 2 will judge it in a way. I think the 2 doesn't like the way the 5 is a little flighty with their adaptability and the freedom that they use with it. And I've just noticed that pattern with a few 2 and 5 combination of people that I have encountered. And I've noticed there's a little static, a little disharmony there. Yeah. Did you notice that?
No, I never noticed that, but I want to ask, do you think it could be the fact because to the in the negative vibration of the number five, they can be vulgar. So, we talk about
Mhm.
everything that's positive, it can be flipped to the direct opposite pole in the lower vibration. So they can be vulgar. But
Mhm.
remember, the number two is very sensitive.
Yes.
So do you think that sometimes the communication comes off as insensitive to the number two?
Yes, I think it's insensitive to the number 2, but also, like, you could say the vulgarness and the carelessness, because sometimes 5s can be careless, right? And I think it's 2s are full with tact. They do things in a tactful way, and they like a diplomacy about things, whereas 5s are just like, "Yeah, whatever," kinda thing, like, they don't have that tact and that diplomacy. So I think a combination of those 2 or 3 attributes, it causes a little static there where there are some breakdowns in, it's not a total disharmony, but there is some disharmonic vibrations that can go back and forth between these 2 numbers.
And
I've noticed it.
to add to that, also one thing I forgot until you mentioned it about the freedom of the number five. A
Mhm.
tidbit about the planet Mercury is it is said to take on the characteristic of whatever sign it's in. Say, for
Mhm.
instance, if it's in the sign of Leo, it takes on a masculine quality. So that right there also talks about, the freedom of the number five. Like, it can just be whoever they want to be and adaptability to whatever situation happens. And
Mhm.
Mercury also moves pretty quickly around the zodiac as well.
Yeah, so Mercury and the Moon are the fastest moving bodies planetary wise. So that could also be something there to it. I don't know, but I do notice that little static there. I think the fives are just like you said, they're so free and adventurous, and like you said, they could be vulgar and kind of careless. And I think it just sometimes that may rub the tactfulness of adaptability and the sensitivity of a two a little bit the wrong way.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move to the number six, and six is ruled by the planet of Venus. I was just about to say the planet of beauty.
Love. Oh, you said beauty. I was gonna say love.
All of it is the
All
same.
of it in
Love,
Venus.
beauty. Yeah. So it says the principle of desire, love, beauty, value, the impulse and capacity to attract and be attracted, to be loved and be loved, to seek and create beauty and harmony. So this right here tells me you're not just going to be in a relationship with a number six people and you not bringing it, because you see what they require. And you're six if you're born on the 6th, the 24th, or the 15th of the month. And if you're ruled by Libra or Taurus, you're a number six person. So it also seeks to create beauty and harmony, to engage in social and romantic relations, sensuous pleasure, artistic, aesthetic appearance. And that's by Richard Tarnas, Cosmos of the Psyche, 2006. And some of the six values: material possession, family, home. And the six, the planet of Venus, is also magnetic because it's considered the brightest star. Because you can go outside and look outside and you'll see the planet of Venus with your eyes, and it appears to be the brightest sun, but really it is Venus. And Venus is not going to be too far away from the sun. If you're born under a sign that's ruled by Venus or a number, then you can be musically inclined, virtuous, intuitive. That's why with six, it's about presence. It's about going out, bringing forth your A game. It's like they have a status to uphold. They're to be virtuous, and a lot of people, especially in older astrology, they talked about the planet Venus as the Virgin Lady. And one of the things that we have to talk about too is the fact that Venus is very intuitive, because Venus is the earth sign. Venus loves the home property, being outside and doing things. But when you think about it, it's perfect for a Venus person, because think about the beauty of nature. Venus just wants to be where it is beautiful at. So I think that Venus is a pretty interesting, pretty interesting planet, but it also has some shadow attributes as well. And a person that's ruled by Venus can be manipulative, they could be vain, they can be controlling, they can be expensive. Like, okay, let me tell you, with Venus, if you do something for Venus, you got to bring your A game. They're not going to settle for less, and all of this depends on, just keep in mind the numbers from 1 to 9. It also depends on what other numbers are in your chart as well, but with somebody that is ruled by Venus, they are not just going to accept any old thing. You're going to have to bring forth your A game. They like expensive things. And on the negative, they can be bad in relationships. And that goes back to that being controlling. And I noticed that Venus, because of the fact that they the planet Venus has been looked at as virtuous, it seems like everything has to be perfect, perfection. And another thing that I want to add to is that Venus loves to serve others as well.
Mhm.
So not only do they just love to have love or love to receive love, they like to share that with others in ways such as teaching or being a social worker or helping someone else grow. So those are some Venus things. Do you have anything to add to that, Queen?
Not too much. I do wanna say one other thing about those number 5s, because we were talking about how communicative and stuff they were. A lot of the rappers are 5s. So, like, Nas is a Virgo, and he's born on a day that adds up to a 5, so he's air. Oh, no, he's earth air. And then you have what's his name? Tupac is a Gemini. And then you have Prince, he was a Gemini. So a lot of the artists, I wanted to link that back to the number 5. And then with the number 6, I really do agree with that. And then also with that number 6, it's important for them because like you said, they can be controlling to the fact that they love beauty and all that kind of stuff so much, art and beauty and material things. They love those things so much that sometimes, between that and the way that they just want things their way. They want to have things their way. So sometimes number 6s can be like it's my way or the highway. And that's what ends up sometimes happening with them, but they have to learn to balance that because the 6 is all about balance and harmonization. So they have to learn that. They have to learn to make sure they're balancing that attribute of themselves.
And I agree with that because the with the number 6 also, the number 6, has this thing about justice.
Mhm.
And this the number 6 has, I know how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
You should be doing it this way.
This way.
So
Mhm.
that's kind of
Mhm.
where that comes in. Nobody knows how to do it the way that I do it. So if I tell you this is the right way, then this
Then
is
this
how
is the
you
right
should
way.
do it. Yeah, but it's their sense of justice.
Mhm.
So that can explain that a little bit. And I will go back to the number 5. And I know we've been up here for a while, but the number 5, what you said is absolutely correct. Let me tell you, I have a niece that's born the same day as Tupac.
Mm.
And her older sister were arguing back and forth about who could freestyle. And this niece, she's probably like 15.
Mhm.
And so we all gathered around and they had their little freestyle battle. And my 15-year-old niece ripped my other niece apart. And I'm like, what just happened here? Where did this come from?
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. But she is that Gemini, and she does have a lot of Gemini placements. And it's like it was a freestyle, and what she was saying, it was like it was making sense. I'm
They
like,
know
you
how to put the
sure?
words together. They those
Yeah.
number 5 people born under that 5, they know how to put the words together. They know how to get the message out there. They're just fabulous at it.
They could
Naturals.
be fast talkers too.
Yeah, you gotta watch that. You gotta watch that part.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna move on from
I
the
don't know,
number
I'm just going back and forth.
It's true. It's true. Oh, so we're going to get into my
Ooh,
favorite planet. So we're not going to discuss, okay, we're on the number 7. So
okay.
you are a number 7 if you're born on the 7th, the 16th, the 25th of the month, or if you come under the sign of Cancer, you are a number 7. And this is one of those interchangeable sets, the 2 and the 7. That's why I have Neptune, and oops, I forgot my moon word. But anyway, we
That's
have
okay.
Neptune on one
You
side.
got your moon you got your little moon right there. Don't
We
make
have,
me hang the Numeralytics moon back up. Hold on.
I know,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, So we already went over the moon. So I'm not going to go back into the moon. But the one thing I want you to remember about the moon is we talked about illusion and deception. And so now the co-ruler of Neptune is, the co-ruler of number 7 is Neptune. So the number 7 is ruled by Neptune and the moon. Okay, so in Neptune, and this statement that I'm going to read to you is by Richard Tarnas, an astrologer. And it says Neptune is associated with the transcendent, spiritual, ideal, symbolic, imaginative dimensions of life, with the subtle, formless, intangible, and invisible. And before I even go on, I just want to let everybody know this is my favorite planet right here. With the unitive,
Of course it is number 4.
timeless, immaterial, and infinite, with all that which transcends the limited, literal, temporal, and material world of concretely empirical reality, myth and religion, art and inspiration. And it says art and inspiration. Music is one thing that Neptune, people ruled by Neptune, get into too, art and music. And Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. So that makes sense. Myth and religion, art and inspiration, ideals, aspirations, images and reflections, symbols, metaphors, dreams, visions, mysticism, religious devotion. Does this sound like number 7 to you?
It sounds like number 7 to me. I think you're reading number 7 and not Neptune.
Yeah, universal compassion. It is associated with healness and wholeness, ecstasy, mystical union. And what I like to say about Neptune is that people that are ruled by Neptune, they live in the world, but not of this world. This physical reality, they know how to exist in this physical reality, but actually, Neptune is way out there. And in fact, it's so deep out there that you can call Neptune number 7, or you can call Neptune on the number 7 as people who believe in faith, because of the fact that Neptune is a planet that we can't even see with our physical eyes. We don't even know that it's out there. We can't see it with our physical eyes. We have to believe. No, we have to have faith, because it's difference between belief and a faith. Belief is something that can happen. Faith is believing in something even when you cannot see it. So we can't even see Neptune, but we have faith that its presence is out there. And it's so strongly that we can. People that are born on the 7, they should know that this is why 7 people have strange and unusual dreams, because they're in and out of the physical and the non-physical reality. This is what makes them great people for visualization and things like that, because to them, this is not their natural home. They're out there with
Right.
Neptune. They're in a whole different reality. So Neptune also deals with deception as well, and illusion. So people that are born on the 7, or people that are born on the 7, should be careful of deception and illusion, to make sure that what someone is telling them is absolutely correct, or what they're believing their self is absolutely correct. Also, people with Neptune, we talked about music, but Neptune also deals with film, acting, cameras, anything that represents the illusion, Neptune is a part of that. And those also that are ruled by Neptune should watch out for um, drugs and things of that nature, because some of those things can fall into the negative category of Neptune itself. So, Neptune is a very, very interesting planet. These people should be meditating, and this is what makes the number 7 so spiritual, because they know that there's another part of what we're living that most people know about. And this is also why those people tend to be or have a spiritual nature, or tend to have all of these dreams and these prophetic visions and things like that, because they're actually seeing a different reality, and they like being alone to themselves because they feel like they're alone anyway, because they feel different than everybody else. So those are just a few things about Neptune. Anything here, Queen?
I think you covered everything. I wonder if because they have that connection to the spiritual realm, does that attribute to seven being the number of law of attraction? Is that why it's so easy for them to have that law of attraction power, because they have that connection with that spiritual realm, which we know everything happens in the spiritual first and then manifests in the physical. So,
That's exactly what it is, because see,
mhm,
with the number 7, so a lot of people, it may be hard for them to sit down and visualize things as if it's already happening. But
mhm,
for the number 7, or people ruled by Neptune, it's so easy, it's second nature to them. So when they have a dream, that's why sometimes these dreams are prophetic. So when they have a dream, they already understand that, you know although a lot of people look at this as it's not reality, Neptune is going to look at it in a different form, because they feel like this is not their home, out there. And I'm saying out there because that's how most people look at it. But the spiritual world is really the realm that they are from, and they
mhm.
understand that. That's how they understand how to manifest these nothing into something.
Mm. That's pretty cool. I love Neptune.
My favorite, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. Eh,
Saturn. So
yay,
we already
Saturn.
Discussed
The hat
Saturn.
look, the happy planet. Yay.
Yeah, so Saturn is ruled by the this is the number 8. It's ruled by Saturn, and it's just Saturn. So if you're born on the 8th, the 17th, or the 26th of the month, then your ruling planet is Saturn. Or if you are a Capricorn, your ruling planet is Saturn. This right here, we already talked about Saturn and how it's a malefic planet. And while even though they say that it's a lot of difficulties to overcome, I like Saturn, because once what you put out, what you put into it, you get back out. That's what makes it the planet of karma. So this is why you can look at the number 8s and see why they are such hard workers, and why so many things come to them. And what I say with number 8 is, you have to make sure that you're patient, because this is not something that's just going to happen overnight. It requires you to be working on this for some time. That's the influence of Saturn. And a lot of times when people are born on an 8 and a 4, because 4 is co-ruled by Saturn, they can expect to receive their rewards later in life, not like in their early 20s or anything like that, but as they get older, they get better. So,
Mhm.
pretty much the same conversation about the number 8. And that's why these two planets, the 8 and these two numbers, the 8 and the 4, attract to each other, because they have the same planet in common, so
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Saturn, the great disciplinary.
that's what he is. It's the
Hmm.
great disciplinarian. There was questions before about whether Saturn is uh, feminine
Masculine.
or masculine in nature. And some people say feminine, some people say masculine, but they look at it as either the grandmother or the grandfather. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, how Saturn is looked. And now we're going to go on to maybe your favorite planet, Queen. This is the number 9, and we're talking about Mars. That's if you're born on the 9th, the 18th, or the 27th of the month, or you come under the sign of Aries and Scorpio. You are a number 9. Woo! I'm
Hmm.
having
Minor way Leo. Don't forget us. Don't
minor
forget
way
our minor
Leo
Leo.
just for this year. But
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the high side of the 9 on that Leo for this year. I'm using that positive energy from it.
for this year, yeah. So Mars. And a
Hmm.
lot of people feel the same way about Mars because they think about Mars the same way they think about Saturn. What is really the purpose of Mars? Because when people talk about Mars, they talk about destruction all the time. But Mars also has a purpose. Every planet has a purpose. And Mars' purpose is energy, willpower, active energy, courage, determination, enjoyment of working and fighting, the urge to do something, the development of will, the expansion of courage and assertiveness training. Something that I should talk about planet Mars. Mars is a dusty, cold planet. And it's
Hmm.
also named after the Roman god of war. So when we hear something like that, it's named after the Roman god of war. We know that this planet, can be considered a war planet.
Yes.
But the reason why I put Mars as dusty and a cold planet is because of the fact that a lot of people, it's kind of hard to approach the number 9 on Mars. And when you even look at Mars, it appears to be red, but it's really not red in color. But when you look at it, it appears red and it appears hot. So it would make people think, hey, stay back up off me, don't get close to me, and by it being dusty and a cold planet, it's like, I'm not trying to get all that close with you, I'm just,
Right.
I'm here, but we don't have to be best.
I'm gonna be over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be over here, but we have some um well, let's talk about Mars being we need energy.
Hmm.
We need willpower. These are some things, courage and determination. These are some things that we need.
Hmm.
And I said we have all of these planets within us. So at some point, we're going to need to grab onto some of these things like determination and enjoyment. But when we say that or make Mars seems like it's the worst planet or it's a bad planet, you have to ask yourself, well, what would you do without Mars? So the question I want to pose is, what would you do without willpower? What would you
Yep.
do without determination? What would you do without courage? So what Mars does is give us the energy to complete the things that we need to do. And at the same time, if we need to be transformed, Mars is going to do that for us too. So we got to stop looking at the planet saying that this is a bad planet and this is a good planet, because no, they're not bad or good planets. It's just that we have to learn what the energy for each planet is, and we have to learn how to use it to benefit us. So with Mars, we need to worry about being wasteful of energy. Mars people on the negative side can be touchy. They could be enraged, they can be selfish, they can be insensitive, cruel, impulsiveness. Now, all of these things can happen if these people are in the shadow side of their numbers, or if they're in the lower vibration of the planet Mars. So when you look at Scorpio, and when you look at Aries, you know, whenever Scorpio wants to get something done, Scorpio is going to get it done. Whenever you look at Aries, whenever Aries want to do something, Aries is going to get it done. So that's the energy of Mars. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of clear Mars' name up a little bit, you know, because
Clear that humanitarian's name up a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, it's that humanitarian, you know, the
Right.
expansion of courage and
Hmm.
the assertiveness training. That's talking about for other people. You're not just expanding your courage, you're expanding the courage of other people, because sometimes you may use your courage and somebody else may look at it and say, oh, I can do that too. You know, so that's pretty much Mars in a nutshell. I know I'm missing a lot of things from a lot of these planets, but this was just like, you know,
No, you're
just
not. I think it was great. It's perfect for what this is. We want to give people a general overview of the planets and show the connection from the planet to the number, which you did fabulously. So I think it was really thorough, and I think people will really appreciate that. And like you're saying with Mars, it's how you show up for yourself, right? It's how you protect yourself. So and like you said, I agree with you, Kimberly. All of us have all of these planets inside of us, so it's up to us to learn how to balance that energy and use them in conjunction with whatever we have going on. Use those energies of the planets the right way, so we can make sure that we're balancing that energy right and doing what we need to do. You got any more on here on the slides?
oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
I don't know if
I
there
keep
is. Oh, there
forgetting
we
that
go.
I keep forgetting I'm the only one that's I keep forgetting I'm the one that's controlling the
Controlling
slide.
it. Yeah.
So Leo, I'm waiting for somebody to do it for me. So
So this so Go ahead, Kim.
I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
what is your favorite planet so far after what you heard today? And you can't pick the moon. You,
Why you gonna say I can't pick the moon?
you can't pick the moon.
I would have to
That wouldn't
say
be fair.
I think Uranus.
Yeah, yeah.
I just love its tenacity, its gumption to stand up to power, stand up to governments, and stand up to, for what they believe in. Basically, that's what Uranus it stands to me. It stands up for what it believes in. It doesn't care who it upsets when it's ready to, correct those changes. And it just moves forward. And I think that spirit of rebelliousness and really just questioning the status quo, I would have to say Uranus. And then the close second would be Neptune.
Oh no, I say Neptune first, then Uranus. I don't know. It's a tie. It's a tie.
Yeah. Well, you're not allowed to say Uranus because that's your planet anyway.
Oh man,
So you're not allowed to say Uranus. So you gotta sit just
Neptune
like
it is.
I couldn't say the moon. So Neptune is yours, and I'll take Uranus for you. We can share it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was brilliant. And just looking at these planets and looking at the rulership with the numbers, it really makes you want to really deep dive into this more to see more of these connections. I'm sure this is how you figured out that those 4 days are like many retrogrades, and doing this research and a deep dive, to see that that's the higher octave of Mercury. And this is what we do. This is what metaphysicians do. This is what astronumerologists do. We look at patterns, we look at cycles, things that are recordable, things that happen over and over again when we see interactions between these frequencies. And that's basically what science is. It's proving something, you can prove something that you can do over and over again, it comes out with the same result. So, I loved it and I thought it was brilliant.
Thank you.
What I want to do now, real quick, I want to pull up the banner and then I'm actually going to pull up the website. I want you guys to make sure you're supporting Kimberly and her website. So let me pull it up and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. All right. So here goes Kimberly's website. It's kimberly.com. And this is what it looks like when you get here. So this, of course, she has her Manifest on Purpose show that she does on YouTube. You guys can come right to this website to book a consultation with Kimberly. You can see that she has all of her testimonies up here, and up here across the top, she has all of everything that you can do. You can book with her online. If you want to be on her show, she takes bookings online here. Or if you want to get an astro numerology reading with Kimberly, please make sure you visit this website so you can go ahead and get that booked with the queen. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you guys visit her YouTube. If you're not already following her at Kimberly underscore, make sure you go follow the queen on YouTube. I just really want to thank you so much for coming on Numbers Matter. This has been truly a treat. I think it's going to be great because, like we said, today the planets have all lined up in a planet parade, and you just gave a great breakdown for everyone to get to know these planets a little bit better, get to know their number better if that's the planet they fall under. And if you want to know more, please go to kimberly.com to find out more. Queen, any closing remarks or closing words or anything that I missed that you want to say to the audience before we get out of here?
First, I want to say thank you so much. Thanks again for having me on. And I just want to encourage everybody, find out what your numbers are and the mixture that you have, because we all are cosmic soups, and we may have the same ingredients, but you should know exactly what's in your soup. So you should get deep down into who you are and all of the elements, all of the ingredients that are in that soup that make up you, so that you can go through life and live in alignment, just like how this planetary alignment is asking us to do today, to align with a goal and a purpose that is higher than ourselves.
Absolutely. You heard the queen. Make sure you reach out to get your astronumerology reading. If you don't know your numbers, you better get those keys, get those numbers so you can know how to navigate in these streets out here in this non-universal year because it is rough out there. Trust me. Thank you so much, Queen. I'm just going to play some outro and we'll be so happy to have you back on Numbers Matter. Whenever you get ready to come back, you know you're welcome here.
Thank you.
Thank you.